Shin Hyan is a gifted young lady with the ability to can see red lines above people's heads, which she calls the S-line. The S-line indicates who has slept with whom. The more physical relationships or the more people you get intimate with, the more the lines you possessed on top of your head. When she was a child, unaware of these lines, she made a drawing. And this drawing had 4 people: herself, her father and mother plus her aunt. The 3 people had lines on their heads except her. Shin Yun's mother happened to see the drawing and in anger and whatever was going on the drawing, how the red line was extending from her husband directly to her sister's head. She realized that her husband was having an affair with her sister. Immediately when the husband came back home, she stabbed him with a knife and ran away, leaving Shin Hyan alone. That's when Shin Hyan realized how dangerous these lines were. To free herself from this curse, she repeatedly tried to take her own life by jumping off buildings and cutting her veins. But every time she survived without a scratch, Shin Hyan resolved to find out why she was chosen for this curse. She only wanted to find a way to be free from it. Because she wanted no one to be harmed, she decided to lock in her apartment during the day. She started to wear dark sunglasses. One day she got a new neighbor had moved into the apartment across from Shin Hyan. And she notices that she had many red lines above her head. The neighbor sees Shin Hyan and smiles, but Shin Hyan quickly draws the curtain. Later in the day, the neighbor comes to Shin Hyan's apartment to give her some fruits. She knocks for a while but Shin refuses to open. The neighbor leaves the fruits in front of the door and walks away. As soon as the neighbor leaves, Shin Hyan quietly picks up the bag of fruits and starts eating them with delight, as if she hadn't tasted anything so delicious in days. Met Inspector Han, an uncle to Kong. Since Kong's parents passed away, he took over the responsibility to take care of Kong, her niece. At school, where Kong goes to study, there was a girl named Hae Young along with her gang constantly bullying her. Just like every other day, after bullying Kong badly, Hae Young warns her that if she doesn't bring money the next day, she will throw her off the school rooftop. Meanwhile, Inspector Han was investigating a murder case. The suspect was a delivery man wearing a helmet, but they had no clue about his real identity. Shin Yun in her house watching news on television and was able to notice that the man with the helmet had only one red line above his head, a rare sight in this generation. That very night, Shin Hyan sees a man with the same single line entering her new neighbor's apartment. She immediately tries to call the police to inform them, but then she's distracted and she hangs up the call. The next morning, before going to school, Kong requests Inspector Han for some money. He inquires how much she needs and why. Kong replies that she just wants everything he has at the moment. Han gives her all the cash in his wallet and tells her that he will get more cash later and give it to her. While handing her the money, Han notices the injuries on Kong's body and questions how she got hurt. Instead of answering, Kong snaps back, questioning since when he started caring about her. After she leaves, Han steps out onto the balcony and looks toward the apartment across from his where Shin Yun lives. Just then, his colleague calls and tells him that last night a girl had phoned the police about the suspect, but she hung up in the middle of the call. The colleague recommends that Han go and question her, mentioning that the girl lives right across from his own apartment. After the call ends, Han walks over to Shin Hyan's apartment and rings the doorbell. Through the peephole, Shin Hyan sees Inspector Han standing outside. On his head are so many red lines, more than she has ever seen before. Han keeps knocking on the door repeatedly and calling out, but Shin Yun doesn't respond. Just then, a man passing by tells Han that there's no use knocking because she never comes outside. Han knocks again and calls out, saying that if she shares what she knows about the man, it would be a great help to the police. After a few moments, Shin Yun slowly opens the door just a little and explains that she had called the police by mistake. When Inspector Han finally sees Shin Hyan, he realizes she looks like just a child. He starts to ask about her parents, but before he can continue, Shin Hyan quickly shuts the door. That night, Shin Hyan once again sees the helmeted man with a single red line above his head. And this time, she realizes that he actually lives in the same building where she stays. The next day, Han is checking all the delivery men in the city who resemble the suspect. He sends his colleague to Shin Hyan's building to investigate the delivery man living in apartment 69. When Han's colleague arrives at apartment 69, he notices that the entire place feels suspicious. Fear creeps over him and he quickly calls Han to report what he has found. But before he can finish speaking, the man wearing glasses, who had been secretly listening the whole time, suddenly attacks him and ties him up. Realizing what must have happened, Han immediately understands the situation and speeds his car toward the building at full throttle. Meanwhile, the helmeted man puts on his helmet and heads out in search of his next victim. Hearing his footsteps, Shin Hyen looks down from her window. She sees that the helmet man is heading straight toward her new neighbor's apartment. Shin Hyen wants to call the police, but her phone's battery is dead. Determined to help her neighbor, she grabs a knife and rushes after him. In reality, the helmet man also has the ability to see red lines, just like Shin Yun. When he notices the countless lines above the neighbor's head, rage consumes him and he tries to strangle her to death. At that very moment, Shin Hyen arrives to save her neighbor, only to realize that the attacker is the same boyfriend she had seen earlier. Terrified, Shin Hyen freezes and cannot bring herself to stab him. Instead, the man snatches the knife from her hand and stabs her with it. Meanwhile, Inspector Han reaches the apartment building. On his way upstairs, he notices Shin Hyen's door left wide open and steps inside. Inside, he sees signs that Shin Hyen had been searching for something. Then his eyes move to the window where the killer is in the middle of strangling the woman. Wounded but determined, Shin Hyen crawls toward the killer and stabs his leg with the knife. As the killer pulls out the blade and prepares to finish her off, Inspector Han bursts in and shoots him, saving both Shin Hyen and the neighbor. A little while after the incident, an ambulance arrives and takes the killer and the woman away. Inspector Han returns Shin Hyen's sunglasses, which he had found lying on the way. Looking at the glasses, Shin Hyen remembers the killer's words and begins to suspect that he was able to see the red lines because of them. Inspector Han then questions her if she really doesn't want to go to the hospital. Shin Hyen insists that she is perfectly fine. Just then, Kong arrives and immediately demands to know what Shin Hyen is doing there. But without giving any reply, Shin Hyen quietly walks back into her apartment. Later, after returning home, Han goes into Kong's room to check on her. He wants to know if everything is going well at school, but Kong gives him vague and dismissive answers. As Han is about to leave, Kong suddenly inquires about Shin Yun. Surprised, Han wonders aloud how she knows her. Kong explains that Shin Hyen used to be in the same middle school as her. Then, one day, her mother killed her father and abandoned her, leaving her all alone. Meanwhile, Shin Yun makes a firm decision. She will continue living like this, using her cursed gift to protect the world. She takes off her glasses and puts them aside, but now she can see countless red lines stretching across the entire city. Just then, she receives a message from an unknown number. The message reads, "I can see the world the way you do. If you want to know more, come to school." The next day, on her way home from school, Kong notices a pair of glasses left in her locker. After a moment of hesitation, she picks them up and takes them home with her. At home, she puts on the glasses and looks at herself in the mirror. To her surprise, she sees a red line above her head. At that moment, she doesn't understand what the red line means. Just then, Han arrives home from the office. Kong rushes to him, and upon seeing the countless lines above Han's head, she screams loudly in fear. Kong immediately puts on her slippers and rushes out of the house. Han is left stunned watching her leave. Outside, Kong looks at the people in the market and gradually realizes that these red lines indicate physical relationships. The next day, while going to school, Kong was in a very happy mood. She could see the red lines above everyone's heads. She noticed 2 lines above Haeyoung's head, one of which was connected somewhere within the school. Curious, Kong follows the line and discovers that it connects to a Korean teacher. Seeing this, Kong smiles as if she has just found the key to a hidden treasure. Meanwhile, Shin Yun also rejoins the school. A teacher introduces Shin Yun to the class, and after the introductions, she goes to her seat and sits down. On the other hand, Han remembers that the helmeted killer always wore glasses. Yet, none of his belongings had any glasses. To clear his doubts, Han goes to Kong's school because he realizes that the helmeted killer was actually a teacher who taught at the same school. Inspector Han meets the teacher, Gujin. She recognizes him and asks if he is Kong's father. Han explains that he is her uncle as Kong's parents are no longer alive. Gojin assumes that he has come to talk about Kong, but Han clarifies that he is there regarding a murder case. He tells her that last year a teacher at this school who taught math became a serial killer and was killed in a police encounter. Gujin immediately identifies the teacher. Han adds that none of the teacher's belongings included glasses. Gujin confirms that she had never seen that teacher wearing glasses. Meanwhile, Haeyoung raises her hand against Kong, but this time Kong grabs her wrist and threatens her, saying that now it is her turn to be feared. The two argue when Shin Hyeon suddenly intervenes. She grabs Haeyoung by the collar and drags her to the edge of the building's boundary, threatening that she will jump with her if needed. Terrified, Haeyoung promises that she will never bother them again. Later, Kong tells Shin Hyeon that she doesn't need her help. She can take care of herself. Shin Hyeon feels that Kong is upset with her, but then Kong calls her over, signaling that she wants her to follow. Meanwhile, Han finishes questioning Yojin and tells her to call immediately if she learns anything. Further, Gaeyeon suggests that Han meet Kong, but he explains that Kong doesn't like to meet people like that and he starts to leave from school. Han heads directly to the bar where the teacher used to frequent. Han shows the bartender a photo and asks about the killer. The bartender explains that the man was a little strange. He often counted out loud while watching others, then would burst into loud laughter. Because of this, many people had confronted and beaten him before. Looking at the photo, the bartender adds that the man always wore glasses. Though in this photo, he is not wearing any. After noting all the information in his diary, Inspector Han leaves the bar. Meanwhile, Kong follows Haeyoung, who is heading to meet the Korean teacher. As soon as they meet, Kong quietly takes a photo of them on her phone. The teacher takes Haeyoung into a hotel room. Kong sends the photo to Haeyoung, who is slightly surprised to see it. However, she doesn't tell the teacher anything about it. Haeyoung asks the teacher what he would do if someone found out about them. The teacher replies that he might just run away with her. Haeyoung then tells Kong that she is a minor and it doesn't matter because all the blame will fall on the teacher. The next day, Kong sends the photo to the Korean teacher and demands 20 million won. She threatens that if he doesn't pay, she will leak the photo online. Later, Kong tells Shin Hyeon that she wants to run away from here forever. She feels that her uncle Han doesn't care about her at all. Shin Hyeon reassures her, saying that at least she has someone she can rely on. Kong questions if her mother is still alive. If she is, she should have searched for her. Hearing this, Shin Hyeon's mood darkens. That night, she looks out the window and sees an elderly couple with only one red line above their heads connected to each other. Most of the other couples, however, have many lines above their heads. The next day, while Haeyoung is sleeping in class, she is called to the office where the Korean teacher scolds her severely. Later, Haeyoung secretly comes to meet him. She is angry because he behaves at school as if he doesn't even know her. The teacher explains that someone is blackmailing him by sending a photo. Haeyoung tells him that the girl doing the blackmail is none other than Kong from their class. The teacher questions how she found out about their affair. Angrily, he starts blaming Haeyoung. NDS. Haeyoung gets furious as well and storms off, saying she doesn't care. Meanwhile, Kong begins spending time with Haeyoung's boyfriend to make her jealous. Seeing this, Haeyoung becomes even angrier at her boyfriend. Shin Hyeon, watching this new side of Kong, is also a little surprised. Later, when the two of them are in the washroom, Shin Hyeon notices Kong's glasses and immediately understands everything. It's exactly like the pair the killer had worn. Shin Hyeon tells Kong that she knows she can see S-lines with those glasses. Kong pretends not to understand, acting as if she doesn't know what Shin Hyeon means. Shin Hyeon reveals that she too can see the red lines. Kong doesn't believe her and asks how many lines are above her head. Shin Hyeon tells her that there is only one line above Kong's head. She also explains that there are none above teacher Ju Jin's head while her uncle Han has countless lines. After that, Shin Hyeon questions Kong where she got the glasses. Kong tells Shin Hyeon that she found the glasses in her school locker. Shin Hyeon asks for the glasses, warning Kong how dangerous they are, but Kong snatches the glasses back and says firmly that they belong to her. On the way home, Shin Hyeon tries to explain to Kong the real reason her father died and how much harm these lines can cause. However, Kong doesn't seem affected by her words. That night, Kong is kissing Haeyoung's boyfriend when the Korean teacher messages her saying that he has arranged the 20 million won. He instructs her to come to the school rooftop. After that, Kong leaves the hotel room and goes to a photo booth with her boyfriend to take pictures. Meanwhile, Haeyoung is secretly following her, having overheard Kong and Shin Hyeon's conversation in the washroom. She now knows that Kong can see the red lines through the glasses. As Kong puts the glasses in her purse and goes to take the photos, Haeyoung stealthily steals the glasses. After the photos are taken, Kong checks her purse but realizes the glasses are missing. Panicking, she searches frantically through the shop, asking the staff as well, but the glasses are nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Haeyang is wandering around the mall wearing the stolen glasses. Kong calls Shin Hyan and demands that she return the glasses, thinking that Shin Hyan took them. Shin Hyan is confused and replies that she is at her own home, so there's no way she could have taken the glasses. Kong says she is on her way to school and hangs up. Shin Hyan is stunned. It's almost midnight. Kong reaches the school while running and quickly goes up to the rooftop. The Korean teacher questions if anyone saw her coming. Kong immediately demands that he give her the money. The teacher pleads, explaining that he already has one child and another on the way. He worries about how he will care for them if he gets expelled from school. Besides, arranging 20 million in such a short time is not easy for a teacher. Kong reminds him that everyone knew Haeyang bullied her, but no one did anything because her parents were very powerful. At that moment, the teacher receives a message from his wife. She has seen the photo. Angered, the teacher shouts at Kong, asking why she sent the photo to his wife. Kong immediately insists that she did not send the photo. Meanwhile, Shin Hyan also rushed to the school. There she sees someone falling from the building. Looking at the red line above her head, she realizes it is Kong. Seeing Kong like that breaks Shin Hyan and she bursts into tears. Shin Hyan quickly takes Kong to the hospital. Kong is still breathing. She is taken into surgery while Shin Hyan sits anxiously on a bench outside. Inspector Han also arrives and after a moment of thought, he questions Shin Hyan why she went to the school so late at night. Shin Hyan explains that Kong had called her, saying she was going to the school. She adds that she thought Kong might be in trouble, which is why she went there. The next day, the Korean teacher neither comes to school nor answers any calls. Shin Hyan notices that Haeyang is also absent from class. Meanwhile, Kong falls into a coma. Shin Hyan stands by the school building, looking down and lost in thought. At that moment, a classmate approaches her and says that Kong would never take such a step. She adds that Kong was not weak, and it is also surprising that Haeyang didn't come to school. Shin Hyan feels reassured and finds strength in her classmate's words. Shin Hyan notices a boy and stops him, taking off his glasses to check them. Once she is assured that the glasses are normal, she returns them to him. Meanwhile, in the teacher's room, the English teacher Young Woo finds a pair of glasses on his desk. He inquires Jujun about them. After examining the glasses, Jujun confirms that they don't belong to any of the staff. She advises Young Woo to keep them with him. When Young Woo puts on the glasses, he also begins to see red lines. He quickly realizes what those lines actually mean. Inspector Han comes to the school to meet Gujun and asks about the girl who used to bully Kong. Gujun tells him that the girl hasn't come to school since that day. Han then shows her a photo of Kong with Haeyang's boyfriend and questions who the boy is. Gujun takes Han to him. Haeyang's boyfriend tells Han the truth that he and Kong had kissed. He explains that they went to a photo booth together, but after leaving the store, Kong lost one of her belongings and upset went her own way. After this, Han checks the CCTV footage from the photo booth store. He sees that while Kong and the boy were busy taking photos, Haeyang came in and took something out of Kong's purse. In the next clip, Haeyang is seen wearing a pair of glasses, but Han still doesn't fully understand what it means. Meanwhile, when Young Woo visits his sister's house, he notices that his brother-in-law's head is covered with red lines. As the two of them take the elevator downstairs, Young Woo sees that one of the lines leads straight to the 4th floor. This sight makes him deeply worried for his sister's safety. On the other side, Han's senior officer wants to close Kong's case as a suicide, but Han argues against it. He firmly believes that Kong was not the kind of person who would ever commit suicide. The next day, the entire school is buzzing with a scandal. A photo of the Korean teacher with Haeyang has gone viral, but in reality, it was the teacher himself who spread the photo. Soon after, he takes his own life. The police later discover his body inside his car along with a suicide note. In the note, the teacher confesses that he should never have gotten involved with Haeyang. Meanwhile, Shin Hyan is introduced by Yoonji to her friend Jun Seon, and the three of them begin spending time together. Inspector Han comes to pick up Shin Hyan from school and on the way questions why she hasn't visited Kong at the hospital, but Shin Hyan stays silent. Han reassures her, saying he doesn't suspect her of anything. He knows whatever she did out of concern for her friend. Then Han asks what she thinks, why Kong went to the school so late at night. Shin Hyan replies by asking if Han knows anything about Kong's glasses. Han is confused and says he has no idea about them. He urges her to tell him clearly, but instead Shin Hyen tells him to find the glasses first. Only then she promises she will reveal the whole truth. Meanwhile, Young Woo starts following his brother-in-law. He soon discovers that he lied about a meeting at home and is actually at a hotel with another woman. Young Woo catches him red-handed in the hotel room with the woman and threatens him, saying he must confess everything to his sister by the next day. The following day, his brother-in-law tells Young Woo's sister the truth. He not only confesses, but also leaves his wife and daughter to live with the woman from the hotel. Young Woo's sister is devastated. Unable to handle the heartbreak, she begins behaving like she has lost her mind. On the other side, Han is investigating Kong's room where he finds her diary. That night, he shows the diary to Shin Hyen and asks her about a drawing inside it, one that depicts the mysterious glasses and a girl with many lines covering her head. Shin Hyen looks at the diary and explains that the glasses reveal those strange lines. She further explains their meaning and also reveals that she has been able to see such lines doesn't fully believe her, but he notices that in every case he has encountered, the glasses have always been connected. He questions if Kong also had a pair of those glasses and whether someone might have stolen them before pushing her from the building. Shin Hyen replies that it's hard to say for sure because Kong had threatened many people. She believes that one of them must have been the person who pushed her. The next day at school, Yoonji insists that Shin Yun and Jun Seon should go out with her. But Shin Hyen explains that she has applied for a job at a motel and today is her very first day. Meanwhile, one of the school staff members, Kim, is seen wearing the same glasses. She too can see the mysterious red lines. Kim secretly has feelings for the school's music teacher. She dreams of becoming an actress and often books a room at the motel to practice in private. Coincidentally, this is the very same motel where Shin Yun has just started working. At the same time, Inspector Han continues to investigate Kong's case privately with one of his colleagues. When his superior suddenly walks in, they quickly flip the investigation board around to hide their work. Meanwhile, Yoonji and Jun decide to visit Shin Yun at the motel. At the motel, the group starts making noise and running around. To calm them down, Shin Hunan takes them into her small office. Though the space is so cramped that the three of them can barely sit properly. Just then, Kim arrives at the motel. She pays as usual and picks up the key to room 69. Seeing her, Yoonji mutters that she's sure she has seen this woman somewhere before. Kim heads into room 69 and begins her usual routine. Later, while the three are hanging out on the motel's rooftop, Kim leaves the motel to go home. This time, Yoonji recognizes her clearly and tells the others that the woman works in their school office. Shin Hyen then notices something unsettling. Kim also has the same single red line on her head. Meanwhile, Inspector Han digs into the old case file of Shin Hyen's mother. He learns that after discovering her husband's affair, Shin Hyen's mother had killed him. This disturbing truth was revealed through a drawing Shin Hyen herself had made as a child. Han finally realizes that Shin Hyen hadn't been lying all along. Later, he meets her at the hospital. Han asks whether Kong also had a line on her head. Shin Hyen explains that Kong had only one line. Han then questions whether that line was connected to any of her classmates or someone from school, but Shin Hyen insists that Kong's line wasn't connected to anyone in the school. This leads Han to suspect that Kong might be linked to the mysterious unknown person who pushed her. The next day at school, Junyin runs up to Shin Hyen. She questions him where Yoonji is. He explains that Yoonji had some work at home, so she left early. After that, Junin takes Shin Hyen to the swimming pool. At first, Shin Hyen refuses to swim, but then suddenly jumps in herself. When she doesn't come up for a long time, Junin panics and dives in after her, but Shin Hyen just laughs at his worried reaction. A little later, the two of them climb out of the pool. Junyin offers her his spot and the two sit down to eat together. That's when Shin Hyen opens up to him. She explains that ever since childhood, she's been able to see strange things, lines on people's heads. Junin gestures with his hand, asking like this. Shin Hyen nods. He then questions, "Do I have any lines?" Shin Hyen replies, "No, you, me, and Yoonji, we don't have a single line." She questions him if he believes what she just told him. Jun Shan assures her that he does. That night, even after going home, Shin Hyen keeps thinking about Jun Seon. Meanwhile, Han's colleague asks him if he's been avoiding dates with girls lately. Han, lost in thoughts of Gujin, admits that there's someone he's very excited to learn more about. Meanwhile, Kim, as usual, goes to room 69 of the motel to practice. There she notices the same music teacher she has been madly in love with. But today he is with another girl. In fact, Kim used to watch the couples who came into room 70 through a small hole. She never imagined that one day she would see the music teacher there like this. The music teacher has only one line which is connected to that girl. Seeing them together completely shatters Kim and she leaves the motel. After this incident, she waits for several days hoping the teacher would come back to the motel. When the girl finally arrives again, Kim attacks her, injuring her, and then puts on her clothes to enter room 70 herself. Her mental state is now completely unstable. The music teacher is shocked to see her. Kim tries to force herself on him. The teacher attempts to leave, but Kim throws something at his head from behind, killing him. She then lays him on the bed and starts kissing him. When she realizes that the music teacher is dead, she goes to the bathroom and ends her own life. A little later, when Shin Hyeon comes to take out the trash, she sees the girl whom Kim had tied up and locked in her room. Shin Hyeon immediately calls the police. Inspector Han removes both bodies and starts searching for the glasses, but he cannot find them. Afterward, Han questions Shin Hyeon how many lines Kim had. Shin Hyeon tells him that Kim had only one line, but she doesn't think it was connected to the music teacher. Then Han goes to the hospital to check on Kong. But suddenly he remembers something and goes back to motel room 70. He realizes he hadn't checked the bathtub before, and after draining all the water, he finally finds the glasses. Han puts on the glasses and looks in the mirror. Seeing so many lines on his own head, he is shocked. At the hospital, looking at the single red line on Kong's head, Han begins reflecting on how badly he has treated her since childhood. She had been trying to attach to him, but he had never cared for her. Later at the office, he notices two lines on his colleague's head and asks if he had a girlfriend before marriage. His colleague confirms and Han realizes that the lines are accurate. At that moment, a girl from Kong's school comes to the police station to file a complaint. Hearing the school's name gives Han an idea. He brings Haeyoung's boyfriend to the hospital and stands him in front of Kong, but Kong's line doesn't connect to him either, so Han lets him go. Meanwhile, Shin Hyeon's two friends are talking about her birthday party. Shin Hyeon replies that she has never celebrated her birthday until now. Yoonji and Jun say that this time the three of them will definitely celebrate it because she is about to turn 18. Junhyun messages her personally saying that he wants to meet her alone before the party. At that moment, Shin Yun receives a message from an anonymous number. It was the same number that had messaged her before, saying that, "I can see the world the way you can." Shin Hyeon keeps thinking about this even while at school. Then she sees the girl who had gone to Han's office to file a complaint. Shin Hyeon notices 4 lines on the girl's head and is a little surprised. Meanwhile, Hans's colleague tells him that this is a physical assault case and wants Han to handle it personally. The girl explains that a boy named Lee gave her alcohol and when she blacked out, he did something wrong to her. She realized it when she regained consciousness and saw her underwear. She says that she had gone to his room voluntarily to attend a party, but she had no idea he would do such a thing to her. The detective questions if she has ever been physically involved with anyone before. The girl says she is not in any relationship. Han is shocked to hear this because there are 4 lines on her head and he feels that she is clearly lying. After that, Han goes to the high school where he meets Gujin. He notices that she has no lines on her head. Han tells her that he is there for another case and wants to meet the boy named Lee. Gujun takes him to Lee. Lee has only 1 line on his head, but he clearly states that he did nothing to the girl and that he has no interest in her. Han feels satisfied that everything is clear and leaves. On the way back, Shin Hyeon sees him and looks at him angrily. Han says that he was about to tell her anyway. Shin Hyeon asks Han for the glasses, but Han says that it's evidence for the case, so he can't give them. Shin Hyeon tries to explain that even after such a big incident with Kong, he still didn't think properly. At that moment, Gujun arrives and Shin Hyeon leaves after seeing her. Gujun asks Han what happened and Han tells her that Shin Hyeon lives in his neighborhood. Right then, Han gathers courage and tries to ask her out on a date, but Gujun doesn't understand. Han says he'll call her to explain and then leaves. Gaijin smiles after seeing so many lines on Han, revealing that she, like Shin Hyeon, can also see these lines. On the way back, Han is thinking about the girl's case. His colleague says that the case isn't that complex. However, Han feels that the girl is lying because there were 4 lines visible on her head. After this, they interrogate both of them once again. Hans's colleague questions Lee while Han questions the girl. Lee insists that he didn't do anything. In fact, the girl keeps following him around. He hands over his phone for checking. Han's colleague observes and realizes that Lee is telling the truth. Meanwhile, Han questions the girl why she washed the underwear and clothes that were stained with blood. Her mother explains that she had washed those clothes. Han is puzzled and cannot understand why this girl is trying to frame Lee. At night, on his way home, Han meets Shin Hyen. Shin Hyen checks the glasses and returns them. Han explains that he has been using the glasses to help people. Shin Hyen questions, "Whom did you help?" Han replies that a girl in his class had falsely accused someone of sexual assault, while their lines didn't connect at all. Shin Hyen confirms that the girl is telling the truth. A week ago, she had no lines, but now there are 4. Hearing this, Han immediately reopens the case and heads to Lee's room with his colleague. Lee's room is very tidy. If he had done anything, all the evidence was already gone. Meanwhile, Shin Hyen goes to the motel and starts investigating room number 70. She hopes to find some clue about the person who made the glasses. Just then, Jun Seon arrives. Shin Hyen is startled and asks how he got there. Jun explains that he saw Shin Hyen arrive and followed her. He is scared of the darkness, and at that moment he realizes Shin Hyen is about to kiss him, so he closes his eyes. Shin Hyen laughs upon seeing this, and then they share a kiss. Meanwhile, Han calls Lee in for interrogation and asks him to explain everything again. Lee says that the girl had come to his room and finished the entire bottle of whiskey he had. After that, when she insisted on drinking more, he had to go out and get her some beer. After drinking the beer, she had a sudden breakout, probably because of the cocktail of whiskey and beer. Han asks where he got the beer from. Lee tells him about a wine shop located right next to his hostel. Han checks the CCTV footage of the wine shop and realizes that the boy was telling the truth. But then he notices 4 boys walking from the shop toward the hostel. One of the boys initially had no line at all, but as they returned from the hostel, that same boy suddenly had a line. Han observes carefully, counting the lines of all 4 boys as they go back and forth. He notices that each of the 4 boys gained 1 line while coming back from the hostel. Meanwhile, at school, Shin Hyen sees those same 4 boys. Each of their lines connecting to the girl. She immediately calls Han, but by the time she does, Han has already arrived at the scene. Han interrogates all 4 boys, but it doesn't yield much because there was no direct evidence on them. However, Han notices that one of the boys seems particularly nervous, and an idea strikes him. He lets the others go, but makes it look like he has found evidence against them. The nervous boy panics even more and confesses everything, that the other 3 were involved too, and that Lee had planned the whole thing. The boy reveals that Lee had spiked the girl's drink with drugs, and when she lost consciousness, all 4 of them took part in assaulting her. Now, with this testimony, Han has the evidence he needs, and Lee has no choice but to admit his crime. The next day was Shin Hyen's birthday, and she took a lift from Han to meet Jun Shan. Han dropped Shin Hyen off at a bus stop and went his own way. He went straight to the hospital to see his father. There, he discovered that someone had taken his father with them. Watching the CCTV closely, he saw a woman escorting his father. On closer inspection, he realized it was teacher Gwyn. At that moment, he received a photo of Kong from an anonymous number. Panicking, Han immediately rushed to check on Kong. He ran to Kong's ward, and only when he saw her safely lying on the bed did he finally breathe a sigh of relief. After a while, he noticed Kong's line starting to move. The man who had been connected to Kong was approaching from that direction. Han immediately aimed his gun toward the gate, but just then his father came through the gate, went to Kong, and started crying. Han saw that Kong's line was connected to his father. He felt a mix of anger and guilt. If only he had listened to Kong as a child and understood her, maybe none of this would have ever happened. He felt an urge to kill his own father, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. Instead, he broke down, crying uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Shin Yun was sitting in a deserted place, drenched in blood, crying. Through her tears, she called Han and told him that she needed his help. At the same time, we see a girl who runs a coffee shop. Her private video recorded by her boyfriend went viral all over the city. Her relatives and friends bombarded her with messages, making her life miserable. The girl's mental state deteriorated, and in desperation, she went out onto the street where cars were speeding by. Just Before anything could happen, Gujin arrived and saved her. Before leaving, F glasses, the same kind that allows people to see the S lines. In other words, Gujin was the one distributing these glasses in the city. In the next scene, we see what happened with Shin Hyan. Han dropped her off at the bus stand and left. Soon after, Junyin arrived to meet her. Shin Hyan took Junyin to a motel room as she had developed feelings for him and they became physically close. Afterwards, the two went out to the market to get something to eat. It was Shin Hyan's birthday, so Junyin went to get a cake for her. Shin Hyan looked in the mirror and saw a line appear on her head which disappeared just as quickly as it appeared. Suddenly, she heard a loud scream from behind. She rushed toward the crowd and saw that Junyin had fallen from a height and died. Her world shattered in an instant. Shin Hyan then sat in a deserted place and cried uncontrollably. At that moment, she received a message from the same anonymous number which included a video of Yoonji being tied up at school. Shocked, Shin Hyan immediately called Han and asked him to come. Han arrived and told Shin Hyan about Kong's line, asking if she had known about it. Beforehand, Shin Hyan shook her head and showed Han the video of Yoonji. Han said that perhaps the person who pushed Kong and distributed the glasses would be revealed through this. When they reached the school, both of them immediately went inside and started searching the classrooms for Yoonji. Shin Hyan found Yoonji in one of the rooms. She quickly removed the tape from her mouth and asked how she had ended up there. But Yoonji couldn't remember anything. Seeing Shin Hyan covered in blood, she asked in shock what had happened. Shin Yun replied that she would explain everything once they got out of there. Both of them called for Han. He was nearby, but they couldn't hear each other's voices or see each other. Shin Yun tried repeatedly to leave the room, but each time she ended up back in the same place. She realized then that they were trapped inside the school. Han went to the school rooftop and both Shin Hyan and Yoonji decided to follow him. But when they arrived, Han was nowhere to be seen. He had entered a completely different world. In this world, there were many people devoted to Gujin, all of whom had received the glasses from her. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Shin Hyan began explaining the significance of the lines to Yoonji. But then, she noticed that Yoonji had put on the same glasses. Yoonji explained that Gujun had given her the glasses. Gradually, the evil side of the glasses started to manifest. In the other world, Gujun appeared before everyone. Countless lines covered her head, which she could normally hide from others using her powers. Gujun removed a cloth from a table, revealing Han's father underneath. She intended to kill him because of something he had done to a young girl, something he should never have done. Han tried desperately to save his father, but couldn't. In a desperate attempt, he drew his gun and fired at Gujin, but it had no effect. His magazine emptied, yet not a scratch appeared on her. Gujin calmly told him that she could not be killed by a human and grabbed Han by the throat, lifting him into the air. Meanwhile, a struggle over the glasses breaks out between Yoonji and Shin Yun, during which Shin Hyan manages to break the glasses. As soon as they shatter, Yoonji returns to normal and has no memory of what had just happened. In the next moment, Shin Hyan also finds herself in the other world. She sees Han and screams, causing Gojin to release her hold and move towards Shin Hyan. Gaiyan tells her that the power she had considered a curse since childhood is actually a intends for Shin Hyan's powers to allow everyone in this world to see the S lines without needing the glasses. To forcefully achieve this, she attacks Shin Hyan with a knife. However, a woman intervenes just in time and saves her life. Shin Hyan sees that the woman is none other than her mother. Her mother apologizes, explaining that all the guilt she had been carrying was not actually her fault. In fact, her mother had not killed Shin Hyan's father after seeing her drawings. She possessed the glasses that could see the S lines and had witnessed with her own eyes her husband's line connecting to her own sister. Shinhan, furious, attacks Gujin, but Gujun stabs her with a knife and uses her powers to lift her into the air. As she rises higher, countless lines extend from Shin Hyan's body, forming a massive sphere of lines. Shin Hyan falls back down, and Gujin blasts the sphere with her powers. The explosion sends countless lines scattering across the sky. Shin Hyan rises and attacks Gujin with the same knife. Gojin tells her, it's useless. What she had to do is already done. As she says this, Gyojin dies and with her death, all her magic vanishes from everyone present. Shin Hyan and Han return to the real world where Yoonji helps Shin Hyan steady herself. But now the entire sky is filled with red lines. Suddenly, Yoonji becomes frightened as she notices the immense number of lines surrounding Han. The truth is now everyone in the world can see these lines. A year later, we see Shin Hyen explaining that everyone can now see the lines. Many people have started wearing helmets to hide their identities. Meanwhile, Kong is shown fully recovered. Han goes to pick her up from school, but she reminds him that she had told him not to come. In the final scene, Shin Yun visits Junian's grave and places his jacket there. There, she hears a voice, but sees no one. Suddenly, Gu Jun appears and whispers something in her ear, revealing that she is still alive. Hit the subscribe button to enjoy more movie recaps.